Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Scott Gerber is with us again today, law professor from ONU. We've been talking about the historic nature of the term that just ended for the Supreme Court, and you and I were talking about whether you agree with the decisions that were made or not on each individual issue. The topics and I guess the volume of what was taken up was pretty historic, wasn't it?
Yeah, studies have already shown this is the most conservative Supreme Court term in about 100 years. And in fact, at the annual meeting of the Association of American Law Schools, the constitutional law section, on which I'm a member of the executive committee, is going to have a segment on that. How do you teach this material, for example?
Yeah, you know, one of the op-eds that you wrote was very timely, and that kind of took me back to some of the topics we had about being strict constitutionalists and the way you look at the Constitution. But one of the complaints we've heard is about Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and what they had said in their confirmation hearings relative to Roe v. Wade, and basically that it was a precedent and they didn't see themselves changing anything. Your thoughts on that, and if you could summarize what you had to say in that op-ed.
Yeah, I wrote a piece in the National Law Journal where I essentially said that Kavanaugh and Gorsuch are no longer fit to serve on the Supreme Court because they intentionally misled the Senate about whether they would reverse Roe v. Wade. And regardless of whether you feel Roe was wrong or right, or any precedent is wrong or right, when you're asked a question about it from the Senate, either claim that you can't answer it, you're not allowed to answer it, or answer it honestly. And they didn't answer it honestly. They just wanted to be confirmed. And so they misled a couple of the swing senators, Collins and the guy out of West Virginia, Manchin, and they were furious. And I just think that we need people in positions of authority who are honest. And I don't think they were honest. I know that's a tough thing for me to say, but I believe it.
You know, the other justice we thought about was Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who was asked the same question as a lot of these candidates coming in are asked, and she basically did lay it on the line and said, hey, I'm not saying it's set in stone, it is something I would look at.
Right. She was honest. You know, she said that this Roe case is not what is called a super precedent, i.e. untouchable. And she said it was not, and that people do think it should be overruled. She didn't say which way she would rule on it, but she didn't say that it was well settled and all of that. And so she didn't, as I put it in the op-ed, she didn't sell her soul for a seat on the Supreme Court.
Can you remember a time in recent history, because there are certain questions that every nominee is asked, and Roe v. Wade was always one of them. Can you remember a time where someone coming in that wanted to be on the court, I guess, basically said what they knew the people wanted to hear, those confirming them wanted to hear, and not what they would actually do?
Well, I'm sure that happens more than it should, but I'll just give you two examples. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg was being considered for the court, they asked her the same question, and she said, absolutely, the right to choose is central to women's equal rights under law. And they confirmed her 97-3. And then when Robert Bork was nominated by President Reagan long ago, he was brutally honest and said, for example, that the privacy decision, Griswold versus Connecticut, is not grounded in the Constitution. And he didn't win. And because he told the truth and didn't get confirmed, everyone since has either bobbed and weaved or not told the truth. And these jobs are too important for people to get away with that. And as I've said on other occasions, I believe, we also have to get past the idea that only certain people are capable of doing these jobs and the nation will fall apart if we don't get Kavanaugh or Gorsuch or someone like that. That's not true.
Yeah, well, and we had the segment where we talked about coming from certain schools too and having a certain pedigree, that maybe it is time to look at some other great legal minds, right?
Right, yeah, and these aren't necessarily great legal minds. They're just, as I tell my students when we talk about this material, especially in the seminar in the spring, these people are products of a conservative legal movement who was dedicated above all else to overruling Roe. And so that they got on the court and they did what they were trained to do.
Great getting your perspective. As always, it's a great op-ed, good read if people want to check that out. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerber. Appreciate it.
Welcome, Jeff.
You bet. Nice talking with you. We'll be back after this.